G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Kenty, we're back. A couple of big stories yesterday blew up on our YouTube comments.
Yeah. Blew up everywhere, didn't it? A lot of. It's funny when you think of some of these stories around the game. In some ways, they're sort of minor significance, but it really does irk a lot of fans. So I think it's an unusual one. I think it's something the NRL's got to pay attention to anyway. They tend to think, okay, who cares, move on. I know Phil Gould blew up and had a crack at the fans last night about
what do you think about that? Bit rich?
I think it was a distraction, to be honest. I don't think he was – I don't think he's invested either way, to be honest, in what he's saying as far as what happened on the field. I think it's more just to distract people away from being critical of the Canterbury fans after some people posted photos of them basically giving it to the Tigers during the game.
Yeah, right. So you reckon that him saying it was a non-issue, the Penrith Waterboy thing, was a bit of a smother for the Canterbury fans misbehaving?
Well, the thing was, he didn't just come out and say, he called it a beat-up, and he came out and look, his answer was more invested than his opinion, to be honest, what he really thought, I think. But what that did was that gave the headline, generally in that after 100% footy, they're looking for a Phil Gould headline story, and that became the story rather than his response to the West Tigers incident and Canterbury's complaint, because that's what people are picking up, whether there's some hypocrisy there, whether of Canterbury complaining about that action from the West Tigers when their fans were giving it to the Tigers themselves, which, to be honest, mate, I think the fans can do what they like.
There was a couple of interesting suggestions yesterday in the comments, and I guess my question to you is, what does the NRL do about this? Should they move the kick to in front, or we're
talking about the Penrith Waterboy now?
Yeah, the Waterboy.
No, I think they took the right action. I think they probably could have given Jaden Campbell a little bit of time to get himself composed again. He was ready to kick the goal just as the Waterboy got there. Okay, look, he's a grown man. He's a middle-aged man, to be honest. But just as he got there, do you think it was deliberate or not?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so I do too. I think it was too. I think Penrith pushed the line the way their guys carry on. We saw actually a story in the paper today, in the Herald today, Neil Breen wrote about Shane Elford, who's the other Penrith water carrier. I won't call him a water boy. But he got suspended earlier this year for spraying water on the ball. Well, he was on the field on Sunday during that set where Nathan Cleary kicked the field goal. He was on the field during that set for 5 tackles. Now, under the NRL rules, after 4 tackles, you're only allowed on the field 3 times to deliver messages. He was on there. After tackle 4, though, you've got to be off the field. He was still on there. So that was a problem. And now he stayed on. Now, again, they pushed the rules. And the thing about that, Warren, why that's an issue, and it depends on, make your own mind up about how big an issue, but why is it an issue is because the water boys now are so tuned into everything. They know what the coach is looking for. They've got the coach's instructions in their head, and they're another voice out there directing players around the field. And Alford can be seen during that set of 6 directing players around the field to get them in the right position so they could execute the field goal. Now, we all put it down to the genius of Nathan Cleary. Certainly he was composed and he was brilliant under pressure to actually kick the ball. But to actually navigate your way upfield, to get in the position you need to be in, to make sure to play the balls in the right area. Now, they did nearly overshoot it, as we spoke about, but to get on the right side of the field so he can get a right foot kick off in the best position and all that, things have to go pretty well right. Now, if Nathan's watching, say, these guys out here on the left edge, someone sort of around him or close to him doesn't pay attention, well, the water boy's there directing him into position. So that's where it becomes a little bit muddy, I suppose. And that's why I think the NRL, look, their attitude to it was, it happens.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, that's just another dip in
weak as piss, right? That's just so terrible.
That's where they go, though, Warren. That's one of the frustrations of the game. It speaks to the bigger picture we have of the game with this she'll be right attitude, okay? And it bleeds into all these other aspects, one of which is really annoying people at the moment, a couple of which, if you want the truth, is one, the run of 6 agains that people are getting with no inspection. Yeah, no idea why. But that, it's okay. It's just part of the game, which is coming into the management of penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one's to play the ball, which, look, 2 weeks ago we saw a crackdown on the play the ball. The weekend there was 1 million of them, of illegal play the balls, and not a penalty for it. So that frustrates fans, and rightfully so. And the NRL have got this, they don't know what to do. They don't know whether they come in and they be hard-assed and penalise everything that is actually an infraction, or whether let the game flow. Now, we've fallen into this habit of just letting the game flow. Makes for a better spectacle. But what's happened, what they don't quite grasp in there, is that coaches cotton onto this. So coaches look for that 1 or 2% advantage in that. For example, keeping your Waterboy on for extra tackles to help direct players around the field.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what they try to do. And the NRL go, she'll be right, don't worry about it. It happens every week. Well, it's on your watch that it's happening.
It's interesting. When I read that article by Neil Breen, immediately I thought, there's no way he's got that information himself, right? That has to have probably come from the Titans.
Well,
does that happen in media? Do you get a little tip off and say, look at this?
Yeah, of course. Of course it does. But it also can these days just come, someone can pick it up on a fan site, a forum or somewhere. It used to happen a lot that way. It still does. A lot of coaches will say, look, you haven't got it from me, but have a look at this. Yeah, what I generally do when I look at these types of stories is I look at who's written it, and then you sort of reverse engineer it back to the incident, and you figure out if who they would have spoken to between the incident and them writing it to see where the connection might be. In this case, I've got a rough idea probably where it's come from. I wouldn't say it's come from the coaching staff at the Titans, but it could have come from somewhere else at the Titans. But that happens a lot. But the fact is, I just don't get this she'll be right attitude from the NRL. One week they're doing a crackdown which just gives everyone the shits, and then they let it go for 6 weeks, and then we've got another crackdown. Like, get on the bike and stay on the bike, or leave it alone.
Yeah. Tell me what you think about Phil Gould potentially diverting attention from that, and tell me what you think of the difference between what players should be doing and what fans should be doing. Because the reaction we're led to believe from the Tigers players was a reaction to the Canterbury fans doing the same back to them. Yeah, look,
I look at it this way. So, I wasn't that offended by what the Tigers did. I thought it was not great. Okay?
I'll ask you this. What about if they were to do that?
Well, again, that's where I thought, because I didn't know what that gesture meant.
Okay.
And I don't have any idea of it. I looked at it and thought it was some sort of gang symbol from a TV show or something like that, where they do things like just silly things.
That would have been worse, by the way.
Well,
gang symbols
could have been
worse.
Well, it depends. If it was seriously, yes. But I think players, I think fans, once you've paid the money, you're allowed to go in, you're allowed to boo, you're allowed to jeer your opposition, and provided you don't go over the social boundaries we all sort of understand that are in place.
Yeah.
Provided you don't breach them, I think it's fair game. I think you're entitled to cheer for your team and boo the opposition and be unhappy with something the opposition's done. I think players should be above that. I think they should be above that. They should not be reacting to the fans. I know every now and then it happens. It can happen in a funny way or like a jokey way, and we can all enjoy that. But when you are deliberately antagonising the fans like that, the problem with that is if you're going to do it, then own it. So if you're Brent Naden, just own it. Just own it. Don't delete your social media after it. Just own it. In the past, the Western Suburbs Magpies in the 1970s were the bad boys of rugby league. But they owned it.
They wanted to be
proud of it. Well, they didn't apologise for it.
Yeah, okay.
They owned it, okay? You look at the LA Raiders back in the 70s. They're the same culture. The Detroit Pistons in the baseball.
Yeah.
There have been over time in basketball, in all sports all around the world, there's been teams that have been the bad boys of their sport.
Wimbledon Crazy Gang in the EPL in the old days.
Yeah, and they Milford guys. Millwall, sorry. Milford, got him on the brain.
That's from The Simpsons.
Yes. But look, all about that is own it. Now, don't come in and we can't do it these days because of this publicly. You've got to be so politically correct with everything in public, okay? People. standards of behaviour have just changed. I don't know where it's all going.
Go woke, go broke, you think?
Well, it's very much a lot of that. It is a lot of that. But even look, there's a lot of things I don't agree with. Okay, I'm just turning into a grumpy old bloke now. Okay, but the fact is,
one of the things people can't say is you're woke.
No,
you're definitely not woke.
I'm a long way from that. But I also don't think that's the way. I think it's a weakness. All that woke stuff. I think it's we're just whenever we train down to the weakest player in the team, or the guy that can't do the sprints, so we've all got to pull it back because we don't want to make him feel bad, then we're weakening everything. The idea, when I was younger, the idea was that you looked up, you aspired up. Now it's look after this guy, and everyone brings it down to that level, and that's everywhere in society, in so many things. So.
Participation award rather than winners award.
It is, and it's ridiculous. But the fact is, the Tigers should have been above that. They should have carried themselves with a little bit of class and just said, you know what, we're above the fans. Responding to an opposition player, I'll cop that.
Yeah.
But not responding to the fans, and rubbing their noses in it. Like they carried on like they won the premiership, the Tigers, a little bit, okay, the way they celebrated. Now, I get it, it's an emotional win. I think the fact that they were so emotional was why they won the game. Because they were up, they clearly had better energy than Canterbury, and it got them home. Enjoy it then.
Yeah.
Don't rub everyone's noses in it.
Maybe it'd be good to see some kind of bad boys of the comp. What do you reckon?
But they won't, mate, because someone will come along. And
so you can't do that.
Well, someone will come along and fine them 10 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they won't be able to do that. The game doesn't celebrate that. It doesn't reward that anymore. It doesn't even want that anymore. Everybody's got to be a 2.1 citizen in the game, and then we complain that there's no characters. It's a contradiction that we don't have an answer for. Yet we want the answer, but we don't like the answer when we get it.
And if somebody's a little bit left to centre, we call them a pork chop, and they don't know what they're doing.
Well,
blah, blah,
blah. But it comes back the
Classic
other way.
Was Classic was Luai in the Origin. When people were into him and he had a bit of a go, and then everybody's on his back, and
Yeah, well, it happens. Yeah, it happens around the game.
Yeah.
Look, so I don't know where we're going to go, but what we need through all this is leadership, and we need clear leadership. Okay, and the NRL, it's like when you train your dog. You clear instructions and a heavy penalty. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just make simple. Yeah. I was going to say my kids, right? but just the rules are simple, but there's punishment if you break the rules. The NRL is the opposite. The NRL's got all these complex rules, and they've got these limp-wristed penalties when people break them. They'd be in a flux in there today. They'd be thinking, what are we going to do about this? How's it going to look? And that's the other part. Often the punishment, the penalty, is not what they think is fair and just. It's what they think will be acceptable in the public, because they've got to have two sides they've got to please. You have to please the Canterbury side of things. You have to please the West Tigers side of things, and wherever all the rest of the fans sit in that argument. So they'd be in all sorts of shapes today. They'd be, what are we going to do?
So the good thing is for the people at home is not only do they get footy lessons from you, they also get life lessons. Mate. It's good. Mate, every time I come in here, I learn something. It's good how to raise dogs and kids. Well,
that's it, Let's see how that goes.
Very good. Mate,
I'll be up in front of Child Services tomorrow.
No, your daughter's been raised well. She's a great young lady. Mate, Felix Kaufusi's been banned 2 games, and
again,
the Warriors are now calling.
Again. Okay, so the NRL, okay. Warriors are calling for greater punishment.
Yep.
And they're calling for the ARL Commission to exercise their newly written in law, laws where they can.
Which we thought were a joke.
We thought were a joke, and everyone else in the game thought was a joke.
Yep.
The ARL Commission wrote in these rules saying if the penalty is not sufficient, the Commission can then weigh in and impose a more severe penalty. I wouldn't say we were even 2 months into it. And the Warriors are saying that the penalty against Felix Kaufusi qualifies and that the Commission should weigh in and give him a sterner penalty. Now, he's out for 2 weeks. He got charged with grade 2 dangerous contact for a tackle that put Laban out for up to 6 weeks.
So their argument is that Kaufusi should be out for 6 weeks to match the injury. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
No way. No, it's a stupid idea.
Okay.
It's a stupid idea. And honestly, we're only a couple of months into this rule, which should never have been implemented, and now we're all switching horses and we're saying, you know what, now they should be using it. Absolute joke, right? So the Warriors need to pull their heads in there. The idea of bringing in and this is the problem, a lot of people try and argue with me about the penalty should match the injury.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that, okay, is firstly, you're not intending always, you're certainly not trying, we'll give most of the benefit of the doubt. You're not trying to injure somebody.
Not at this level.
Okay. Well, some do, but not all of them. Most of them don't. You're not trying to injure the person, and you certainly don't want to cost them an injury that's going to ruin their career, end their career,
Impact
or whatever.
their career,
okay. Yeah. But the problem is this, is if you're sitting there and say you injure a player and he's out for 8 weeks, okay, or 6 weeks, but the player who caused the injury is a superstar of the opposition team. So Nathan Cleary, for example, injures a player, and you know in 3 weeks' time you're going to be playing him in the semi-final. You just say to your bloke, and in the Nathan Cleary case, you wouldn't care who he is, mate, you're out for 6 weeks. You're just gone. Okay, and even better if he's a replaceable player.
What's he reckon? A guy goes down and fakes a knee injury, he's out for 12 weeks?
Well, not necessarily fakes the injury, but you could certainly fake
prognosis.
how long the rehabilitation takes.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, you can do it. And don't tell me, if they're sending trainers on to flaunt the rules,
it's a good point.
Don't tell me they're not going to do this. Now, if you're a disposable player. If you're a good player in the opposition who gets injured, you're going to try and get him back as quick as possible. But if you're coming on as a middle forward, number 17, it's your third game in first grade, and you do a knee, you strain a medial ligament, and it's only a 3-week injury, but it's Nathan Cleary or it's Cameron Munster or
so that's
caused the injury, you go, mate, you're out 6 weeks because we're playing them in the finals. We don't want him playing.
Okay, so that's flawed.
It just can't work that way. And for the Warriors to come in now and ask for this to be applied is ridiculous. It was never intended for this type of rule. It was intended for those sorts of instances where they just got it horribly wrong. Okay, now you don't have to agree with it. Look, he's out for 2 weeks. The player's out for 6 weeks, the injured player. It's only a 4-week difference. It's not horribly wrong.
I heard something along those lines. I heard Matty and Cooper Cronk's pod, very good pod, by the way, as you know, second best pod in Australia.
There we go.
Anyway, no, what Cooper was talking about was something interesting along those lines was, what do you think about this? If a player gets injured on the field, right, as happened on the weekend with Terrell May, he gets injured, goes off, right?
Yeah.
And then
the player has to go off.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, look, again, it's flawed, okay? For example, Stephen Crichton, I thought did nothing wrong on the weekend. He was low. The point of impact would have been, I reckon, about sternum level of Taylor May. Taylor May, when
because he slipped into the tackle.
He slipped, and because it was a wet track and he hit the brakes and he slipped.
Yeah.
There was no intention to do that. It was a total accident. The fact that you would lose your player for that, I think is wrong. There are some instances where you can make that argument, but once again, if you get hit in a tackle and you go off for your HIA, and it's Stephen Crichton that's knocked you over, you say, mate, you go up and start licking the window, right? Start licking the mirrors. And the doctor will say, mate, he's got concussion, he can't come back on the field. And that way, Stephen Crichton has to stay off.
What about
that's the flaw in that argument.
What about the idea where you have a back and a forward on the bench as your 18th, 19th, and maybe your 20th player, and depending on who gets injured, so if a back gets injured, then you bring on a back, rather than having a forward try and defend out and in the centres, which ends up being, a bun fight anyway.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That can work, but it can also be exploited. Okay, again, you might just feel that a bloke is fatigued. We're out on our feet. We need a fresh player on there. Go in. If you get anywhere near around the head, just lay over, get up, stumble. The independent doctor will see your stumbling movement, will say, mate, he needs to come off. So you've got a free replacement. Haven't you? And you've got a specialist player on the sideline then who comes on. You've got an outside back that replaces an outside back, or a half replacing a half, or a forward replacing a forward.
No, it was only so in that May instance. So May goes off, and rather than a forward come on, a back goes on. Yeah, but so if Crichton got
I get that, but you still get a free replacement, don't you? You get a free specialist replacement. If you've only got a forward on the bench, you might not want to make that replacement for May.
But the referee has to make the decision and put them on report. It's only if they get put on report.
Well, no, the independent doctor can do that. If the player gets up and wobbles.
Yeah, but you can only swap the player if it's put on report, can't you? You can only swap. You can only bring the 18th player. Yeah, you can
At
only
the
bring
moment,
the 18th player.
you've got to have 2 players on report. Okay, you've got to have 2 players offered an HIA. Okay,
Yeah, and you bring the 18th player
to bring
on.
the 18th player. Look, a lot's got to happen for it to happen. I think. Look, it sounds great, but it means you've got to be sitting there with 4 or 5 players on your bench every weekend
Who aren't playing New South Wales
who aren't going to
Cup.
be playing. So.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, We'll turn it into NFL one day. We'll just have 28 players sitting on the sideline all waiting for a chance.
Bring the cheerleaders back.
Don't know about that.
Okay, very good. Let's move on. Mate, I want to discuss something with you because at the moment there's this committee being put together for the salary cap, right?
Yep.
And that's Blake Solly, Dave Donaghy, Andrew Lancaster, Craig Fitzgibbon and Dave Riolo. And the idea is they're going to look at the salary cap from the bottom down.
Yep.
I want to ask you today if they remove the hard cap from the NRL and go towards a soft cap, which they have in other leagues.
Yep.
My argument is that the hard cap isn't working. I understand why the cap was introduced. It was so clubs didn't go broke, and at that
Yep.
time it worked. These days, I don't believe the hard cap is working, and I wanted to look at a model such as the NBA,
Yep.
which has a soft cap. They have 4 levels of caps. They have a salary cap, and then they have different tiers. The thing is about that is the whole argument for the salary cap is different teams win the premiership.
Yep.
That's not happening in the NRL. Panthers are different, but aside from the Panthers, we also have the Storm, the Roosters, and the Broncos, right?
Yep.
Broncos haven't won as many. But if you look at the NBA, the last 8 years, there's been a different champion,
Yep.
right? And they don't have a hard cap.
Yeah. Yep.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's got merit if it's policed properly.
Mhm.
But I think the hard cap's got merit if it's policed properly. I don't think it's policed properly.
So what you think at the moment is that those teams which are at the top aren't policed as well as
I don't
other
think
teams?
I don't think the salary cap's policed properly. Okay,
Right.
I don't think the NRL has enough powers to properly investigate. And Warren, every significant, not every salary cap breach, every year clubs breach the salary cap. At least half a dozen. Okay. Now they're in sort of innocent ways. A player qualifies, for example, South might end up breaching the contract, the cap this year because they've had to bring so many kids through because of injury, and those kids who are on contracts that have, a bonus to play first grade, have got to now qualify for that, even though technically they probably shouldn't be getting it.
I don't think any fans have an issue with that.
No
I
one
don't think
does.
That's the kind
and
of
that happens
salary
every
cap
year, and
we're
that's why there's no blow up.
And that's fine.
That happens every year, those sorts of incidents. But every major salary cap breach, you go back to Canterbury 2002, you go back to Melbourne 2010, you go back to Parramatta, 2016. All those
Cronulla.
Cronulla as well was the other one, right? All 4 of those came from whistleblowers, not the NRL sitting down and investigating and seeing if something suspicious or flawed in their accounting and saying, okay, hang on, there's a problem here, and then they've investigated and uncovered it. They've all come about from whistleblowers. And because it comes about that, I don't have a lot of faith. And the NRL doesn't have enough powers to properly investigate. And the clubs know exactly what the NRL's powers are. The clubs that are, I believe, are cheating the cap, okay, know what the club's powers are, know how far it reaches and where it stops. So they just operate outside that.
So what percentage of clubs do you think are cheating the cap? 50%?
No, I don't think there'd be that many now.
Okay.
I think, no, I don't think there'd be that many now. I think you'd probably 5 or 6 you'd be looking at.
Okay.
Okay.
So 30%, 35%.
Yeah, and to varying degrees. It upsets everyone when I say that because they, where's your proof? But yeah, and people say, where's your proof? Okay. Like I can tell, I've sat down with players who have told me how they've been paid by off the cap. Literally from brown paper bags to other different ways. And everyone says, well, write it. But the thing is, one, the players tell me because there's a trust there, okay, which would be a breach of trust if I then expose him in the club. And secondly, if I chose to ignore even that and said, you know what, bugger, I'm going to go write it, I don't have the proof of it, okay? I could write it. And everyone says, well, where's your evidence? Oh, he told me. And he'll first thing he'll do is go, no way.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he'll get done by the tax man.
Well, not only that, but his club will get done. He'll be seen as a pariah within the game.
Yep.
And I'm not the only journo that's been told that. That's
course.
why there's a cynicism around the game from a lot of journalists, because when you do sort of form relationships with a lot of players, you do have you do have these conversations sometimes, and it's generally never at the time. It's never, oh, mate, I'm getting 100 grand off the cap right now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's generally in the past, 3 years earlier, 4 years earlier, when they think they have this sort of safety that it's all in passes, they can't get caught.
Statute of limitations.
Who knows? But it does happen. Now, the soft caps, for people who don't know what a soft cap is, generally what it is you have a figure you've got to get to. That's your cap, which in the NRL is a hard cap, and once you hit that figure, that's it. Soft cap, you are allowed to go over under certain circumstances, and they vary. I'm led to believe. I think the soft cap, the rules around them change.
Yeah.
Baseball, its soft cap used to be you had 170 million. This is years back.
Yeah.
$170 million to spend, and for every $1 million you went over your cap, which you were allowed to do, you could spend as much as you like. That money you had to pay the Major League Baseball, which then distributed it to the clubs or the teams that couldn't get near the cap. So they got that money was dispersed. So if you went $30 million over the cap, say there's 12 teams that couldn't reach the cap.
Yeah,
you had to put $30 million in, and that was dispersed among those teams. So there are different ways to do it. It does work, but I will say it does just continue to advantage the good teams. It's any idea of parity is really gone.
But if you look at the NBA,
about financial security.
If you look at the NBA, and I know it's a different sport, etc.
But they have a draft. That helps too. That's significant. A draft. See, this is the other thing. You can't have a salary cap and a draft. You have to have a salary cap and a draft. A salary cap and a draft are designed to work together. The reason rugby league doesn't have one is because way back when it first began, Terry Hill wanted to go and play at Western Suburbs. In hindsight, the NRL New South Wales League at the time should have just let him go. Because when he wasn't allowed to go to play at Western Suburbs, Jack Gibson wanted him at Eastern Suburbs. Jack Gibson drafted him. He took the New South Wales Rugby League to court. It was defeated in court. Now, the reason you have drafts in all these other sports is because you've got the Players Association to agree to it. Now, generally you've got to pay out money. The Rugby League Players Association, which was born out of Dennis Tutty, I think it was Dennis Tutty, basically taking on the non-import rule back in the late 60s.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So it came out of that. So that's part of their DNA, the Rugby League Players Association. So they've said they will never agree to a draft.
Yeah, no, that's gone. There's no chance they can have a draft. And teams now develop players from a very young age, so there's no point even talking about a draft in the NRL.
Well, at some point they might have to do it. Otherwise, the salary cap's just ridiculous.
I don't think it can happen.
But I don't think it'll happen either. But the way you make it happen is you pay them, you compensate them.
Right.
You just say we will give you like a splash of big money to get this over the line. Now the NRL previously has never been in a financial position to be able to really offer that. Okay, for years the NRL and Australian Rugby League, it was run as a non-profit organisation. Under its own constitution, whatever money came in had to go then dispersed among all the junior leagues and country football and A-grade football and all the rest of it, as well as the clubs. The NRL, COVID changed all that. They said, we need a bit of a slush fund here. We need some money in the bank. So we all fell into that. And now they're just making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. But there might come a time when they have to say to the Players Association, we will give you this one-off and you will just agree to put the draft in, and that's it forevermore.
Yeah, interesting. Just quickly, why do some teams succeed? Like if we look at that, with those four teams, that's not just, all about salary cap. Why are teams succeeding and some are failing?
Because they've got the discipline. One, they've got the good. Look, a lot of things. One, I talk about the false cap. Okay, the hidden tax. Players will go to the good teams for less money than what the other teams will have to pay to get them. They'll go there because they know they're going to be in a good club, good culture. They're going to learn how to play football better, and they're a chance of winning a premiership. Okay, so that's why. So you'll take a discount to achieve all that. And the other part is they have a really good understanding of how the cap works. The Roosters were the first club, for example, that brought in a bloke who's basically his only job is to work the cap. There are all sorts of ways you can claim like discounts and things like that. They had a full-time guy working on that to just make sure that they maximise every opportunity they had. Other clubs are starting to cotton on, but not every club's got that.
No.
Okay,
Can you believe that?
Well, there you go. But there you go. And fans would ask their club, why don't we have it? And they'd say, well, it's 200 grand for a wage that we probably can't afford, which they can afford. But some of them have still got that old mentality. They just want their blazer. They want to be able to go to sit in the chairman's lounge every Saturday or Sunday and sit and watch the footy for free and tell all their mates that they're one of the big wigs at their footy club. Some clubs are still run that way, sadly as it is. Okay, the clubs that are at the top are very sleek, streamlined. They know what they're doing, but they can identify a footballer. They get the players in that they need to do. They understand succession planning. They have players coming through. So right now you look at Melbourne. So Melbourne have got Jonah Pezzett, who's been waiting for an opportunity. Now they might end up losing him, but they've got Jonah Pezzett there who's going to come in after Jerome Hughes he probably won't leave now. He just signed a new deal, but he's ready there.
Maybe goes to
but they had him. Now, if Jerome Hughes is going to stay another 4 years, they might say to Pezzett, okay, mate, you can go. But they will then go out and they'll find a kid who's probably 17 now.
Yep.
Roughly around that age, and they'll say, okay, by the time Jerome Hughes leaves in 4 years, this kid will be 20, 21 coming through, and he'll be ready to take over. So, and they'll do that. The other clubs, they're still trying to figure out what they're doing next year.
Very good, Kenty. Well, mate, that was very enjoyable today. Well done, mate. A couple of things. Ask Kenty tomorrow, everybody. Remember to leave your comments downstairs in the comments section, and we'll answer those tomorrow. And also, people about the hats. Fanatics.com.au. You can buy these caps on there. Thanks, Kenty.
Thank you.
It was good, mate. Cheers. See you tomorrow.